Good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Raziano. I'm running for Vice President on the Solidarity slate for Local 952. Last Tuesday was an introduction to the Surface Transportation Assistance Act. Today I'll just give you a brief overview of our case, that we were successful in winning those protections for our drivers and for the Ralphs drivers for that. So back in 2004, as a new hire right after the grocery strike, the guys were warning me about attendance. Coming from a private family business in New Orleans, I didn't have any understanding of what that meant. However, later on, I would find that out. So what Vaughn's had and what Albertsons had and currently have is a point-based attendance policy. So if you're tardy, if you clock in late, if you don't clock in and out of your lunches or breaks properly, if you call off personal business or sick or fatigued, you will be issued attendance points. And the one thing that always bothered me at Vaughn's was that in our contract we were given 5 sick days. However, if you used any of those sick days, you were issued attendance points, and I never understood that, and it didn't sit good with me. Unaware to me that a previous steward, Brian Traster, had actually later on in 2006 had actually filed some grievances on this very issue that were denied and just kind of died. So it didn't sit good with me, and I started asking a lot of questions. Posed some questions to our local when we were at Vaughn's, and basically for many years, because this was complaints and complaining about this issue went on for years. The basic answer was, it's in the contract. You have a better attendance policy than the Ralph's truck drivers. But it still didn't sit good with me that, we're actually being disciplined and given these attendance points for utilizing what was already available to us in our contract. And so fast forward to 2017, we had a female driver who was suspended for attendance points, and that kicked off this whole issue. So she wanted to file a grievance. I started doing some research for that grievance, and my eyes were opening rapidly. I was finding a lot of information that I was unaware of as, back then, a 30 plus year truck driver. I didn't know existed, and I figured that if I didn't know they didn't exist, that there were thousands and thousands and thousands of other drivers, even with a lot of time in, that also didn't know they existed. So what the Surface Transportation Assistance Act did for us was there's a provision in there called the ill or fatigued operator rule. And that is why this booklet with my research is for that. I forget, I think there's on or about 150 pages of research I put together in that book. All random stuff I had to search out, read, because you're going to read a lot of stuff that doesn't pertain, and you have to sift through everything you find online until you find information that is pertinent to whatever it is you're looking for. So got all this information, put it together, filed the grievance. that actually went to pre-arbitration, and the attorney for the local, when we had our big sit down, actually agreed with me that these were violations. However, at the time we were going through a merger with Albertsons, and we merged, and according to them, they no longer had jurisdiction in the process, had to essentially start all over again. So we started over, and we met with some attorneys. They didn't have any experience in this case. However, they felt that it was a justifiable issue, and they took it on, and we rode it all the way out until we got our first the challenges, like I stated in the last video about us having to go through appeal. So we got the letter back from OSHA denying our claims. However, they didn't deny them on the basis that we didn't have a case. Their argument in their document, which I actually have, I should have brought it in for this video, but I'll show it to you later. The document basically stated that the only reason our case was being denied was because Albertsons had already deleted the attendance points. And so I argued with our attorneys that they needed to file an appeal, because just because they deleted the points, for one thing, they were deleting, those points were the evidence needed to convict Albertsons. And the fact that they deleted them didn't change the fact that they were actually issuing them. So it's kind of like, okay, well, my argument to them was, okay, they were saying no harm, no foul. I said, oh, really? So if I go rob a bank tomorrow and I give all the money back 6 months later, everything's fine, right? And they're like, well, that's a good point, Mike. And so they filed the appeal. Then subsequently, we brought in a new lead attorney, Paul Taylor from Truckers Justice, who his entire 40-year career has only been the Surface Transportation Assistance Act. He specializes in this federal protection. So Paul came in. Oh, I need to give the shout out to the first two attorneys. They were a law firm out in the Woodland Hills of Jonathan and Edward Alon. Two great guys. I still reach out to them whenever I have something going on for their opinion. So Albertsons had multiple opportunities to settle, where both sides could come up with some reasonable accommodation that would benefit both parties. They chose not to. They forced it to an ALJ with the Department of Labor. And like I said, this is not a lawsuit. This is a complaint filed through OSHA and forced by the Department of Labor, and that's where it ended up. So we had 3 days of Zoom court. It's essentially a bench trial. There's no jury. We present our evidence. Albertsons presented their evidence, and you have the judge, and he makes the decision. So we got our decision back in July of 22, and we were victorious. Letters were issued to Albertsons. I have all that information, and we won our case, and that's how we basically won our protections for our drivers. This was just a dabble. There's a lot to go over, and I'll get into some more of that next week. I actually produced, after we won our case, I made an outline on how to bring a case forward, and I'll share that with you next week. So I hope everybody has a great day and stay safe, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.